Good morning, good afternoon, and good night to everyone watching or listening live or on demand. This is the Makeshift Managers Podcast. My name is Austin. Joining me once again is newly married man, Devin.
Hey, man, it ain't no thing unless you got the ring. And locked and loaded, friends. We're glad to be back. My hiatus is over. Happy honeymoon for me. But yeah, I heard the NFC East was a blast. So congratulations to the Dallas Cowboys for being mentioned on a podcast for almost 2 hours. And congratulations to Jalen Hurts and the, I'm assuming, presumed NFC East champions for this year.
Yeah, it's the Mike McCarthy factor hurts so bad. It's just not.
Man.
It's so bad.
It'd be one thing for me if the Eagles just added AJ Brown and the Cowboys just lost Amari Cooper, but it's so much more than that. I know that we're talking AFC East, but I'll give my 2 cents in the NFC East real quick. The Eagles have done something this offseason that basically no other team in the league has done in the offseason, minus maybe the Chargers. They've upgraded at multiple position groups, establishing themselves to be top 10 in a lot of the best spots on the field. And Dallas, their receiver corps, are limited until Michael Gallup gets back. Their offensive line, they just signed Jason Peters, if I'm correct. Wrong name. It's the Eagles' former tackle. I read it on Twitter today. Yeah, you guys got Jason Peters today, so that should help stabilize whatever's going on with the offensive line. He's 40, but massive man. So,
yeah,
I guess fly, Eagles, fly, but crazier shit's happened. Last time everybody was like, oh, the Eagles are going to win it all. It was like Michael Vick, LaShawn McCoy, Andy. It was Chip Kelly's year out in Philadelphia, and they fucking sucked. Vince Young was like, yeah, we're going to make the Super Bowl. It's like, well, they didn't make the playoffs. So, the NFC East is weird. If you're a Commanders fan, sit this one out.
Speaking of flying, Jets can also fly. If you didn't know, there's your school lesson for the day for those who got the school day off because of Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to all those who celebrate, who are having a beer and gonna barbecue later today. We're honestly here nice and early today to get it out of the way and kind of go enjoy our holiday. So we'll start with the Jets. We'll start with your the man who loves all the MILFs, Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson. Honestly, outside of the draft, that's the hottest thing, no pun intended, to come out of this offseason. Zach Wilson banging moms. So shout out to my boy Zach Wilson for slinging the rock, I guess.
Hey, dude, look out for any local book club in your area. Text your mom today. Just check in, see how she's doing. Because if you're not doing that, Zach Wilson might be. For me, the Jets are a super interesting case study in the fact that they are really talented on paper. This is a team that improved it's a lot in the NFL draft this year. You had a team that was able to get Garrett Wilson. Did they end up getting Karlaftis, or that was Karlaftis?
No, they got Garrett
Jermaine
Wilson,
Johnson,
Quinnen Williams, or not Quinnen Williams,
Johnson.
Jermaine Johnson and Sauce Gardner.
Yes. That's how good this offseason was for them. I was talking about their draft selections, and I completely glossed over the number one corner in most people's draft boards. Sauce Gardner's a monster. The defense should be improved. It's the second year of the Robert Saleh-led team. He is a defensive mastermind, quote unquote, because of those Niners teams we saw in the past. I'm excited for them, not for the fact of them possibly winning more games this year, but for the fact that they're going to have good draft capital, and they have young talent. They had Michael Carter, who was one of the better rookie running backs last season. He wasn't Javonte Williams or Najee Harris, but he was beyond serviceable in the work that he was able to get, playing only in 14 games. He had, Michael Carter, he had almost 1,000 all-purpose yards in his rookie year, which is nothing to shake a stick at. And that's while he was in a committee with guys like Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson, and you name some other irrelevant NFL running backs. Biggest thing for me with this team, Elijah Moore to the moon. I am super excited to see where Elijah Moore can go this season. He had a decent rookie year that was hampered by injuries, but for a stretch of last season, he was one of the best wideouts in terms of just overall production from it was about a 5-week stretch where he was pacing damn near every wide receiver in the league in terms of production. So this is a team that has all of the talent in the world, but I don't think they have the age or the experience to really make any noise, especially in this division. Because while the Jets have talent, they are lacking in experience a lot of the time. They have some defensive pieces that have been there and done that, not so much Super Bowl caliber players, but players that have been around the league. CJ Mosley should be back this year, which will be great, but it seems like one step forward and two steps back for this Jets unit. If I'm correct, Mekhi Becton is out for the year. Their star tackle.
Yeah, that hurts. That sucked so bad when I saw it because I love Mekhi Becton, Elijah Vera Tucker, Connor McGovern, Laken Tomlinson, Dwayne Brown. Their line is serviceable. They are better than a decent amount of the lines throughout the league. And Zach Wilson does make some good plays with his legs that we saw last year, and he would have had a decent amount of protection for sure. So that's really huge for them, obviously. But Zach Wilson has some really good weapons, like you said. Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, and Michael Carter are going to be probably one of the next best running back duos that we see throughout the league now. For me, I don't want to see Joe Flacco or Mike White starting games this year, unless
100%.
Zach Wilson's hurt, obviously. But if he's struggling, you can't just pull him out. I think this dude has to play 17 games. You spent the number 2 pick on the draft on him. Give him a shot. Joe Flacco and Mike White is not going to win you games. It might win you 1 or 2 games, but it's not going to get you to the playoffs. It's not a big game-changing decision that you can make. There's no reason for Joe Flacco or Mike White to have any starts this year outside of Zach Wilson being hurt. It's just as simple as that for me. Their defense should be good. You know, they got Jermaine Johnson, Carl Lawson, Solomon Thomas, Quinnen Williams, got Quan Alexander and CJ Mosley. You got Sauce Gardner, LaMarcus Joyner. They have a pretty good defense.
They have the pieces.
They played some tough-ass teams last year. They beat the Titans. They beat the Bengals. I'm trying to find their other 2 wins here. Let's see. They beat the Texans. Okay, yeah, cool. And they beat the Jaguars. Okay, but 2 of those wins were against the number 1 AFC seed and against the defending AFC champions. Like, they played some games really hard, and they were beat up last year. I can't remember who they lost last year to injury, but I feel like this team is pretty good enough to win 6 or 7 games this year, or at least be competitive in mostly all their games.
Yeah, this team is going to be competitive is the best word for it. They're leagues behind a team like Buffalo, and they're still even behind a team like New England and even Miami now. They are the perfect case of we got better, but everybody else around us also improved. And
Right.
The mix of injury luck the Jets have had over the last couple of years, they literally almost had their season end before it ever could start. Whenever Zach Wilson went down week 1 of the preseason with that knee injury that everybody thought was a torn ACL, luckily it was just a meniscus. Couple things that I like about this team. Adding Dwayne Brown is a sneaky move. I get he's a 37-year-old left tackle. This is the man, lest us not forget, ruined the Houston Texans franchise for years to come. Dwayne Brown is the reason why Laramie Tunsil got traded to the Texans. So, ipso facto, the Jets getting Dwayne Brown, it's like full circle. The Dolphins literally cashed in off of that Laramie Tunsil. They're still cashing in off the Laramie Tunsil trade. So, I like a lot of the pieces. The tight end group got better. You've got Conklin and Uzamoa. I like the Jets. I'm not going to sit here and say the Jets suck because the Jets don't suck. They are in a very competitive division in the most competitive AFC we've seen in the last decade. That is the problem.
This is really the first time that the Jets are looking up significantly in the last decade. It is what it feels like to me. Like, obviously they had that, championship run with, good old Mark Sanchez, but in the past decade, they've kind of just been a joke outside of, that 1 or 2 off season they had with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez. And you look at this team, you're like, okay, it's going to be tough to pick against the Jets some weeks. Like, they could really surprise anybody at this point, and you really would be surprised because there's a shit ton of talent. There's a competent head coach. Like, they have everything going in the right direction, and they're actually going to be a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, 100%. There's a handful of winnable games for the Jets on this schedule. I think there are there are a lot more games where they are going to lose than you would expect them to win. I think they can beat the Browns week 2. I like them against the Steelers, kind of. It depends on how Mitch is playing and if Mike Tomlin's still able to coach this defense up the way he has over the last couple of years. Out of the first, so Ravens, that's a loss. Browns, I'll give them a win. Bengals, Steelers, Dolphins, they get 1 out of those 3. I don't think they get a game again until they play the Bears in the week after their second matchup against the Patriots. Because if they're going to beat the Patriots, they have to beat the Pats in New York. So they're not going to Foxborough to beat them, especially in November. The Bills.
The thing is, New England made them look so bad in their last 2 games that there has to be some sort of maybe you don't have to beat the Patriots, but try not to get embarrassed. Like last year was really bad. They lost 54-13 and 25-6. So
yeah, I think genuinely the teams that I see on the schedule where the Jets can beat them, and I would not be genuinely surprised. The Browns in week 2 because Jacoby Brissett is starting at quarterback, and we do not know what this offense will look like in Cleveland. The defense should be serviceable. The offense scares me. Then we go all the way to the Bears. This is the one matchup this year where I say the Jets clear. They are a better team top to bottom. Then we look at the Lions and the Jags. I think the Lions are a better football team than the Jets currently. I think the Jags might be a little worse on paper than the Jets. Head coach versus head coach, I can't tell you who I'm siding with. I like Trevor Lawrence a lot more than I like Zach Wilson. And I think the defense is, while Sauce Gardner is the best guy in the perimeter out of both teams, Trayvon Walker and the whole Mod Podge of what they've got going over in Jacksonville is enticing. I think Jacksonville is going to surprise a lot of people. And if they're surprising people, they cannot lose to the Jets because that's just not how that would work for them. I think Jacksonville is due for a positive season because their division is far worse than the AFC East, in my opinion. And I get
they were bottom 5 last year in points scored, so that'll need to improve. But obviously, that's kind of what happens when Zach Wilson just didn't play a full season, unfortunately, and you were going between Joe Flacco, Mike White. I think Josh Johnson started a game, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So everybody healthy outside of Mekhi Becton, obviously, should put together a good season for them. I think 7-10 or 6-11 is kind of where I'm putting them. Probably closer to 6-11. So I can see them winning 6 games for sure. I can see them setting a few teams here and there like they did last year. And if Greg Zuerlein can hit some kicks, they'd probably be in a good spot.
Yeah. No, I'd have to agree with you. Obviously the NFL season is a long one, and it's not as cut and dry as saying they're not going to clear this team. They're not favored in this matchup. Upsets happen. They could probably squeak one out against the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins will have a good year that is littered with some just flat performances, almost akin to like what Baltimore had last year, although Baltimore was decimated a lot of those weeks where they were just kind of coming out flat. The Jets will surprise some teams. They should be able to beat the teams that they should beat. And the Seahawks. Holy shit. So they can have a 3-game win streak going into the final week of the season against the Dolphins in Miami. If they rattle off 3 straight after their second loss to the Bills, if I'm Miami, I'm scared, especially if Miami's fighting for a playoff spot, because momentum's a scary thing. I'm looking at the Colts from last year, and you're like, how did the Jags have momentum? They beat them so many times in a row. It's just the way that it works.
The Jets went 3-0 this postseason or preseason.
Preseason? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, the Jets just go 17-0 and prove us all wrong.
Not even close.
Not even close.
But I still think because their division got better, they're still going to finish last, but I think they're going to be a better team than they were last year for sure.
I'd have to agree, yeah.
So 6-11 probably where I'll put them exactly without actually. I know you looked at the schedule, but without looking at the schedule, I'll give them 6 wins. Give them 4 solid wins, maybe 2 upsets, or 5-1 maybe.
Yeah.
All right. The Miami Dolphins. Hit me with it. New head coach.
Apparently, most people in the NFL. So the NFL, it's a weird thing. And pro sports, you know how LeBron said, I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Kansas City said, Tyreek, we're sending your talents to South Beach. This is a very interesting team that is hard capped with a lot of top tier contracts. Tua has to be the guy now, because if he's not, the guy this year, Tua Tagovailoa will be playing for a different franchise in 1 to 2 years' time. It's just the way that it's going to be. This team cannot waste its years with a quarterback that is not going to put them in winning positions. Tua has been serviceable in his spot starts and start stops that Brian Flores had him entangled with. My hope for this team is that Mike McDaniel fucking just swallows his medicine and starts Tua for the entire year, unless he's hurt. I don't care how bad it looks at times. I don't care how good it looks at times. You have to find out who he is immediately, because whoever he is, this is the best assemblage of talent he is going to have in the NFL for a good while, because he's going to be making second contract money wherever he goes. And that distinctly limits the weapons you can have. Cite Patrick Mahomes. He went from Tyreek Hill, and they're like, we can't pay Tyreek top tier money. So now we are paying a portion of what that contract would be to Juju, MVS, Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, you name it. You can't have every top-end player at their position on the same team under the salary cap, unless you play in Los Angeles and you're a Ram or a Charger, I guess. The cap is weird. I don't pretend to know exactly all the idiosyncrasies about it. But Miami did something very smart this offseason. They invested in their team. This is a team that has a window of right now. They have the rookie scale contract. They have a pretty good defense over the last couple of years. And this is the best offense they have fielded since, I can't even tell you, since, who was, it wasn't Tannehill. It was the guy before him. Pennington never played for Miami, did he?
Cutler?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Nah, Cutler in Miami was cooked, but it's been a long while since there's been this much optimism for a Miami-led offense, in my opinion. They've got their quarterback in Tua, apparently. Teddy is there, so it's going to be interesting to see if they Drew Lock his ass this season. If they do, then lock Mike McDaniel in a room and say, hey, dude, you only have so much time with Tua to figure out if you're going to pay him. But I love the running back room. You've got Chase Edmonds and Mostert. Myles Gaskin will be there as a thorn in everyone's side come fantasy time. But I love Chase Edmonds this year. I think he is the most talented back that Tua has had alongside him. And I don't think it's relatively close. Edmonds is an electric player whenever he has the ball in his hands. And he was limited in Arizona because of Cliff Kingsbury's affinity for goal line type backs that come up between the tackles. But you get Edmonds in space. He is an absolute monster. And he's going to fit this scheme of Mike McDaniels extremely well with his zone read type runs. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle asserts itself as a top 10 receiver duo in the league, regardless if they've played the snap together. I get it. It's like, well, how can you put him over these guys? It's like, because Tyreek Hill has like 4.2 speed and Jalen Waddle's not far behind him. And you throw Cedric Wilson as the number 3. He was a guy that was out there catching passes consistently for Dallas's one of the best offenses in football last year, regardless of how good their defense was. Dallas was a very efficient offense for the regular season, at the very least. Mike Gesicki is now going to be a blocking tight end, so if he can actually hold blocks, I am a fan of him. He's a very, very talented receiver at the tight end position, but I don't think what's his fucking name? Mike. I got it in the sheet.
Mike
I lost
McDaniels?
it, man. Mike McDaniels. There we go. I'm thinking of Mike McCarthy now. I'm like McChickens. No, but Mike McDaniels. I like what he's built here. They have a solid fullback in Alec Ingold. The offensive line is where I'm actually really surprised with what they did this offseason. They added a guy in Teron Armstead who is going to solidify that left tackle spot. And I don't hate the guards. I like Connor Williams at center, and Austin Jackson at right tackle should be totally fine for this offense. As long as they can keep Tua off of his back, he should be totally fine. Because Tua is undersized. That is the one worry I have about him in terms of his longevity and being able to be on the field. He is a smaller quarterback. So if he is getting hit a lot, I don't like the long-term outlook. The defense. What can we say? They have a top 10, top 5 corner in Xavier Howard, a guy that has officially gotten his money. Melvin Ingram was added to this linebacking core. While regardless of how you feel about Melvin Ingram, he is a direct upgrade upon a guy like Kyle Van Noy the last couple of years. They signed him and immediately cut him. He's now a Charger. Thanks for the pass for holding him for a year. Emmanuel Ogbah is solid. Christian Wilkins will be a good impact type guy. Raekwon Davis is a big body in the middle. Jerome Baker's a solid player. I like Jordan Phillips as well. Javon Holland, I like him at safety. Outside of Xavier Howard, I feel like the cornerback room is a little thin in terms of like the best corner groups in the NFL, but it really helps regardless of who's around your top guy if he is as locked down as Xavier Howard has been over the last couple of years. So do I think this is going to be a dominant defensive unit like last year? No, I don't think this defense was. I think the defense overperformed to a greater degree last year. Their schedule wasn't necessarily easy, but they caught a lot of teams at the right time. And Brian Flores is one of the better defensive minds the NFL has. And losing him, I think, impacts them more than gaining whatever the hell they did on their defense this offseason. I'm excited to see who, if the new coordinator on defense can help Mike McDaniel actually keep this defense where it was last year. But I do expect a decent amount of regression from this unit because they played so well last year. But if McDaniel's improvements on offense are able to translate right away, I'm not sure how much of the impact the defense will have on the overall success.
Yeah, their defense has been solid over the past couple of years and kept them in games and like shocked some people when they like beat the crap out of Baltimore on that Thursday night. Obviously, they've significantly upgraded the offense with Tyreek Hill and Chase Edmonds. If Raheem Mostert can stay healthy, that'll be great for them. That'll be a solid running back duo. I know they hate Myles Gaskin, but even then, if that's your third string running back, that's a pretty good third string running back to have. Teron Armstead is one of the best left tackles in the game if he can stay healthy and protect Tua. They're about middle of the pack when it comes to O-line, so just giving Tua a little bit of time will be good. Granted, you're not going to need a whole lot of time with the type of receivers that they have. You have playmakers. Like, yeah, you'll have the deep balls to Tyreek Hill, but if you need Jalen Waddle on the curl or on the slant, he'll be right there for you. He has two really good short yardage playmakers for sure. Cedric Wilson is a solid number 3 to have, like he was in Dallas. Past that, you're looking at Trent Sheffield, or Sherfield. Sorry, Trent, if you're watching, my bad. Mike Gesicki obviously is not a good blocking tight end. I don't know what they're going to do with him because they're going to have better wide receivers. Are they going to put him out lined up more? He lined up as a wide receiver in the slot and even on the outside a decent amount of the time last year, and I heard they want to go away from that. So I'm not too sure what life looks like for Mike Gesicki going forward if he can't learn to block. Maybe Durham Smythe is going to get a bunch of time. But you talk about the defense, they're going to be without Byron Jones for at least 4 games, so they're going to have to find a way to hold that side of the field. We know Xavier Howard is a good opportunist and is a good coverage quarterback, had 10 interceptions 2 years ago or 11 interceptions. So we know he's good for it. Like you said, Melvin Ingram. I like Melvin Ingram a lot. He's definitely a good upgrade for them and exactly what they needed. They have the solid pass rush. Tua needs to play 17 games regardless of performance. Teddy Bridgewater, you've seen it, is not going to win you games. He had a good team out there in Denver, wasn't winning games. Arguably a better team than he has now. Even if he were,
I'm not going to say that. I don't think.
You don't think that Denver team?
No, I don't think that Denver team. It's as good, but it's not better. I genuinely feel Denver is really solid, and it looks a lot better now that Russell Wilson is there. But let's not sit here. I feel like Denver's so far removed from their like Super Bowl runs, like post.
Well, I think the thing is, I like Denver's defense better, and it was putting Teddy in good spots in a sense. I know that like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick are not better than Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Cedric Wilson. But if at least we're going to call them even, you know, Teddy, if he can't win with that team, he's not going to win with this team. So there's really no point to throw him in there. I have nothing to say about Skylar Thompson. So Tua plays 17 games. If he's healthy, he plays 17 games. I don't care.
I do think
go for it.
So I was looking at the coordinators for this team. Because Byron Jones is out. Once Byron Jones is back, the secondary for me is going to be really good. I love Byron Jones. He's not flashy. He's not a whole lot of pop and like circumstance. He's substance. He is the perfect complement to Xavier Howard. Josh Boyer is the defensive coordinator for this Miami unit. And looking at his picture, I have the utmost confidence in this man. His eyes scream intensity. But no, he was actually a part of the Patriots dynasty. I'll read this real quick. It's his 17th season in the NFL, and it's his third as the defensive coordinator for this team. 16 of his teams have made the playoffs. Granted, his entire tenure before Miami was in New England, but he was the let me pull it up. He was essentially a positions coach. And for the latter part of his time, from like 2008 to about like 2018, he was the cornerbacks coach in New England. And during that span of time, he like helped develop 5 Pro Bowl cornerbacks. So even if I'm not in love with the depth at corner, with a guy like Josh Boyer, I think this secondary is going to it's going to produce. This guy has done it for a very long time, and they're going to miss Flores in a lot of different ways. But McDaniel's offense, I think, should be really, really electric. And I think Boyer was the coordinator last year, if I'm correct. So I think Boyer's going to be good as well. So,
yeah, I definitely think the change at head coach was not needed. But in terms
not
of
at
the
all.
way,
No.
in terms of the way that Brian Flores was headbutting with front office, then I kind of get. I put the blame on the front office. It's not particularly close, but
Ownership should sell. That's how I feel about it.
If you are in that situation that he was in, then obviously you have to make the change. If you don't like the guy there, then you make the change. In terms of skill and mind and this like that, there was no reason for Brian Flores to leave. But Mike McDaniel is a solid offensive coordinator. He's put out good run games in San Francisco. Granted, I think San Francisco has a much better line. So it'll be interesting to see how he works with Chase Edmonds and Mostert. He's worked with Mostert before. So I mean, obviously the offense is the one that's needed improvement. We've known Miami has had a good defense for the past couple of years and has kept them in games and got them some wins. They finished 9-8 last year, I believe. Am I agreeing? No, yeah, 9-8. Put up 341 points, where you're looking at the Patriots who put up 462, the Bills who put up 483. So you got to make some changes in offense. And the thing is, too, the biggest thing that they have to do is not get their fucking heads kicked in by Buffalo, because that's happened the past couple of years. I'm not picking Miami to win the division in the slightest. Obviously, this is Buffalo's division to lose. But if Miami wants to make noise and wants to push for a wild card or even a divisional title, you have to beat Buffalo, and you have to not get your heads kicked in, because the last games they haven't been close. And they've gotten embarrassed. What was it? 2 years ago, their last game of the season was against Buffalo. If they win, they're in, and they lose like 50-10, some ridiculous number. Like Buffalo just put it to them, and Buffalo, I don't even think had to win that game. I couldn't remember if they were playing for seeding, but still, it's freaking nuts.
I just
want to throw this up here.
Yeah, perfect season podcast. I completely agree. The Flores move was very shocking. The one thing about McDaniel that I'm going to enjoy is any organization, and I will say this the day that I'm dead, if you're drafting a rookie quarterback, like Jordan Love, even in Green Bay, I know Aaron Rodgers is there, but you have a finite window with these rookie scale contracts to actually maximize the return you can get out of these players. That's why the Chargers are going to be so good this year. Justin Herbert is making pennies in the dollar compared to the league's best quarterbacks, and he's producing as a top 5 guy over the last couple of years. Tua has not had the ability to do so because of this constant start-stop nature to what Flores was doing, because Flores was winning games, and that's what all head coaches should do. You go out there to win the game. You put your team in the best possible position. But I do think that limiting Tua in his snaps and in his starts, it hurts you in the immediate, but it's going to hurt you farther in the long term, because you're going to get caught in this Mitch Trubisky era. Just thinking of guys that were on their rookie scale contract by the time they were in, even Baker Mayfield now. You don't fully know if he's your guy. And Tua's problem is essentially just he hasn't been able to be on the field. By coaching, injury, whatever you say. Baker and Mitch, you kind of know who they are. Sam Darnold, you knew who he was. I want a full year where I can see Tua do what Tua does. And at the end of this year, if it isn't what everyone's expecting him to do with Tyreek, then I don't think we're going to see it out of him. And that's the important thing to know.
Yeah.
Because
one thing I do want to say about this is that, yes, Brian Flores leaving was a big shock. And it really could have set this franchise back significantly if they did not get a good replacement. So I do believe Mike McDaniels is a solid replacement. Is he better than Brian Flores? That's yet to be determined. Currently, no, but it's yet to be determined. We got to give him a shot. But at least they have a guy who looks pretty good on paper, because that decision could have sent him back really fucking bad. And you already had the shit about Brian Flores. I'm sorry.
No.
Like Brian Flores was forced to, drop games, and
Yeah.
Brian Flores was putting Tua in and Fitzpatrick in, and playing this carousel of quarterbacks. And I don't know if that's front office or if that's Brian Flores, but it'll be interesting.
It's difficult. And the thing with Miami was, in my opinion, they lucked out, to a lack of better terms. It's crazy whenever you release a head coach that has had like nothing but winning seasons for your organization after a period of time when Adam Gase was the guy you were entrusting for your team. Miami was very fortunate. This was one of the deepest offseason coaching pools that I think we've seen in a long time. And a team like the Texans bringing back Lovie Smith also helped Miami's efforts in getting their guy. Like, there was a lot of really good candidates for a lot of teams. And it's the fact that Miami releasing Flores, in my opinion, will end up being a mistake just based upon how good Flores is. But McDaniel is not going to be a resounding downgrade unless this defense fully craters. That's the biggest thing. Because I think as good as Flores' defenses were, his offenses were never that efficient in terms of like on par with the league. They usually got outscored because they couldn't keep their team on the field. They just didn't have the talent. So not only will McDaniel have hopefully the ability to keep this offense on the field and make them more efficient, he has the talent to be able to do it. Because to be fair to Flores, he was having Devontae Parker and Paris Campbell and insert third wide receiver for the bulk of his time out there. He got one weapon in Jalen Waddle, and the offense looked better, at least in the grand scheme. But yeah, it would be far worse if the Jacksonville Jaguars didn't have their whole snafu of a PR nightmare whenever they were going to bring in Byron Leftwich. But I digress. It's the optics of it all were terrible, but the season's starting. Hopefully they give Tua some consistency, because if they don't, they're going to be looking for a new quarterback in the next 2-3 years. It's just the way that it works.
Is this a playoff team?
Playoff team, wild card, sure. They're not winning the division. I think they're going to get outpaced by Buffalo by 3 to 4 games. They have the talent to get second in the division, but I don't think they have the experience. This is going to be for me, this is the most important. The first week is the most important week of the season for this team. If they beat New England week 1, I think it sets the tone for their season. If New England comes out and smacks the shit out of them, I think they're going to struggle to find their identity until about like week 5. Because if New England smacks them in the mouth, I think the Ravens could do some nasty stuff to this Dolphins team. Because the schedule only gets harder, essentially, after week 1. The Pats are their easiest opponent the first 4 weeks, unless you count the Bengals, because who knows what the Bengals are going to be. The Bengals are more improved than the Dolphins are on paper. But
and going against the Bengals without Byron Jones is going to be a big fucking problem.
Insanely tough. And we're not going to sit here and count out Baltimore. They were the 1 seed with half of their team missing last season before Lamar went down. Yeah. So the only game that I have them scheduled as a favorite to win is a toss-up between New England. So if they beat New England, they're coming out 2-2, 1-3. They lose to the Patriots, they could be coming out fucking 1-3, 0-4.
Well, for one thing, for sure, is you're going to have to win 10 games to maybe sniff a wild card. Because let's look at it like this. You have at least 1 coming out of the West, wild card. Maybe even 2, but for sake, we'll say 1. At least 1.
I'm going to say at least 2, possibly 3. That's how good the West is this year. I'm
just saying at least 1. Almost at least 1 out of the North. And then you have the Colts or the Titans. And then you have yourselves. So you have to compete with the third place teams out in the North and the West. Then you have to compete with whoever isn't winning the South. It's a tough conference to be in, and I don't know if they go 10-7, which would be reasonable for this team, I think. I don't think 10-7 might even get you in the playoffs. That's the problem.
Let's be fair. After the first 4 games, the schedule gets a lot easier. They play the Jets, Vikings, Steelers, Lions, Bears, and the Browns. So, perfect season puts it perfectly. For lack of better terms. AFC's they're completely stacked. If you're not winning 10 games, you're going to be picking in like the middle rounds of the draft. It's just the way the AFC is set up this year.
You win 11 games, and you're going to be hoping on tiebreakers. Like, you're going to have beaten the right teams. Like, you're going to have to beat teams like the Bengals. Like, if you can beat a team like the Bengals and hold that tiebreaker over them, then maybe it gets you in. But yeah, you might have to win 11 games and then still hope for tiebreakers. That's how wild the AFC might demolish the NFC in almost every single interconference game that they play. Every single time we might be picking an AFC team almost, because the AFC is just vastly better than the NFC.
I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm giving them 9 wins. They're getting 9 to 10 games this season. This is giving them week 1 against the Pats. So 1 win against the Patriots week 1. They're beating the Jets week 2. I think the Vikings pull it out against Miami. I like Minnesota a lot, especially offensively. Beat the Steelers, beat the Lions, beat the Bears. Give them the Browns because Deshaun is not back. Beat the Texans. They're not beating the Niners. They're not beating the Chargers. If they beat the Chargers, I'll be fucking belligerent the next show. Bills, Packers. They could beat the Packers. Who knows? Green Bay laid an egg to start the year last year, and they had far more talent on offense.
I think they could beat San Francisco, too, because we don't know what San Francisco is doing right now with Trey Lance.
I don't trust any team that Kyle Shanahan's disciple. Like, it's the whole Belichick versus disciples. It's like, I'm not going to trust.
You're right.
I'm not trusting I'm not trusting the little one against like their master. It's like
Vrabel's been the best one, right?
The Padawan becomes the master, and Vrabel doesn't really own Belichick in any sense of the word. Like, yeah, the Titans have been very good. The Titans also play in one of the worst divisions in football over the last 10 years. So it's like, yeah, you should be making the playoffs whenever your only threat is the Colts, who have had 5 quarterbacks in the last 5 years. Because if Andrew Luck didn't retire, I think the Colts probably win that division 3 out of the last 5 years.
Probably, yeah.
And Andrew Luck would. My team name in fantasy, Luck's retirement fund. I'm trying to raise those funds for my guy. R.I.P. to your career, but I hope you're having a good time. Jets, final week of the season. If they can start the season with a win and end the season with the win, I think Miami can make the playoffs because they're beating
What's their first 4 games? What games are they playing without Byron Jones?
Pats, Ravens, Bills, Bengals. They're winning one of those games at best.
My God.
And then they play the Jets and the Vikings, and I think they're going to beat the Jets. They have to beat the Jets both times to make the playoffs. They cannot drop a game to the Jets. They have to beat the Vikings effectively. I don't know if they can beat the Vikings. The Vikings essentially beat themselves more than teams beat them at this point in their chronology. And Mike Zimmer's gone, so I'm giving them an extra 6 points a game this year. That's how bad he was as a coach. So,
man, that's God.
Their schedule is lighter than some other teams in the AFC, but they have some stretches where it's like I have a tough time.
It's loaded at the front. Like they could easily start 0-4 and it would look super bleak, but they could easily rattle off 7 to 8 wins in a row like they did when they start 0-7 and then rattled off 8 in a row or something like that. They could pull that again. I'm not saying they'll lose 7 in a row, but they could easily start 0-4 and everyone would be like, okay, this is a problem.
If the Dolphins want to make the playoffs from week 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. From weeks 5 to week 12, they have to win all of those games or all of them but one. They have to beat the Jets. So it's Jets, Vikings, Steelers, Lions, Bears, Browns, Texans. They have to win every game besides one. They could drop one of the Vikings and drop one of the Browns, but beyond that, they have to win every single one of those games.
When do they play the Browns?
The week before Deshaun's back, if I'm correct, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then week 11 is the bye. So they get Jacoby Brissett. So I think their biggest test in that stretch is the Vikings. The Steelers are going to play them hard. They have Brian. The Steelers are scary. They're playing at home against Pittsburgh.
The Steelers are always a wild card. Like, no pun intended, but they are always impossible to pick against because they just find a way.
They got really Brian Flores on staff. This is the revenge game. I think TJ Watt's going to bury Tua in this game. Like, I think the Steelers come out. I don't give a shit who's quarterback. They can throw Ben out there. This Steelers team's going to be electric whenever they go to Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. But they can only afford to really drop one of those games because after that, they have Niners, Chargers, Bills, Packers, Pats. They could win 1 or 2 games in that stretch. But I wouldn't be surprised if they
Chargers.
Shut the hell up. The only team that could beat the Chargers last year was the clock, the refs,
and Rex Burkhead.
COVID. Micah Parsons. Josh Jacobs and a Zode Reed scheme. The Chargers beat themselves a lot more than they should have last year, which is the story of my life. But I got the Dolphins at 9 to 10 wins, and it's going to come down to that weeks 5 through like 11. If they stumble at all there, they will not be able to make up ground on the back end of the schedule.
If they go into week 5 2-2, that's
a win.
Then.
They go into week 5 they go into week 5 1-3. It's a win in my book. Yeah. Because honestly, they're 1-3. You go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If they can rattle off, like I said, that streak and they win all of them, they have 7 wins going into that back half of the schedule.
Yeah.
And I peg them at 9 wins. And if they can beat the Packers, they have a shot against every team besides the Bills on their schedule. I do think they have a slight chance in hell against the Chargers, just because I think that Chargers offense is going to be nuclear a lot of the weeks. And with the improvements on defense, I don't know what offenses can truly keep up.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's all on paper, but maybe I'm just a homer, paying no attention to the lightning bolt on my forehead. But speaking of foreheads, Bill Belichick, big old brain, dude. Big brain Bill. William Belichick.
We're just gonna keep doing Bill Belichick puns the entire time.
Sir William Belichick III of New England.
Esquire.
Exactly. Man, I'm tired. I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
It's the New England Patriots. We were bad for 1 year, but we're fine now that Tom is gone. Made the playoffs last. Did they make the playoffs last year?
Yeah, they did, and they got their asses. They got their asses wiped. Sent to fucking. They were returned to sender by the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so you kind of look at this team.
A wedgie.
Yeah, you got the same running backfield, Damian Harris and
Ramondre Stevenson.
Ramondre, thank you. A solid wide receiver core and Devontae Parker, Jacoby Myers,
average wide receiver. The New England Patriots offense is average, and I love it. That's the thing about New England. Their offense is usually pretty average to slightly above average. The problem that they're having now is Tom Brady is the quarterback.
This is a Tom Brady team. You're like, man, I don't like any of these guys. Oh, cool. Jacoby Myers with 1,500 yards and 20 touchdowns.
The best running back that freaking Tom ever had, it's essentially Corey Dillon, LeGarrette Blount, and James White against the Falcons. That is like your top end talent, and Randy Moss for like a season and a half. Beyond that, you had a guy in Brady that elevated a lot of these guys to Hall of Fame production. Wes Welker, Pro Bowler, probably borderline Hall of Famer without Tom, but I'm not going to sit here and like die on the ledge of like Wes Welker was going to be a Hall of Famer. Julian Edelman, beneficiary. Just that's my thing. This is a New England unit that, for lack of better terms, has had elite defenses for the last 20 years and above average offenses with one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. They have the second best rookie quarterback out of last year's class. Effectively by production. By talent, he's probably third or fourth. So,
and realistically, they had the last choice. There was, like we said when we did that draft coverage over a year ago now, like the Patriots, there's 5 good quarterbacks and they will take the 5th one. They will get whatever falls to them. They're not going to move up. Who'd they get? They got Mac Jones. And does it work out for them? It's worked enough.
Dude, I had a beer in my hand during that draft. I was like, they can't keep getting away with it. Granted, I was pumped. We got Slater. No, we didn't. We got
Darisaw?
That was Slater. We got Slater. Yeah. We got Slater that year. That was 21. So yeah, I was pumped. I was
Viking, isn't he?
Yeah, that was the year where it was like Sewell, because it was Jamar went, and then the 2 corners went, and then I was like, "Well, we gonna get fucking Slater?" I was like, "We gotta trade up and get this guy," because it was a roller coaster of emotions. I'm like, "We can get Sewell. Let's trade up. Fuck it." It was the same thing with this year's draft. I'm like, "Bro, can we get one of these tackles? Trade up." And it's like we get our guy, and that's the thing. New England gets their guy. The best teams tend to get the most value at the picks they take. New England said, "Okay, cool. You can trade up for Justin Fields. I don't want him." Oh, Mac Jones at 15. I don't have to give up anything. Cool.
Oh, the Cole Strange pick this year was
strange, to say the least.
Strange. But I mean, if it works out for them, cool. But I don't know. That was a weird pick for them. And their defense has gotten worse now that they are without J.C. Jackson. You still got Devin McCourty. Matthew Judon decided to start playing when he was a Patriot for some reason. So shout out to Matthew Judon for getting to the quarterback on a consistent basis. But outside of that, I'm not watch this team be good again. Like you look at paper and you're like, man, this team is like the Tom Brady team if I've ever seen one, but they're, significantly less talented at quarterback. They're going to find a way to sneak in. Obviously, I think the Dolphins have a better chance to sneak into the wild card than the Patriots do. But I feel like I can't count them out. Like how can I count out Bill Belichick? Like what do I even do? You got Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, so that'll be cool. Trent Brown, Cole Strange, David Andrews, Mike Onwenu, and Isaiah Wynn. Middle of the back in terms of offensive line, probably. I don't even know what to say about this team. It's just
this team went 10-7 last year with effectively a worse receiving core. Devontae Parker is an upgrade on whatever they had at their third receiver. Kendrick Bourne was their number one receiver last year. Jacoby Myers, for however I feel about him and his fantasy impacts last year, throw the guy a damn touchdown. He's a very solid receiver. He's very talented. Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson are a backfield tandem that is not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Damian Harris will probably be gone after this year, but I like Ramondre Stevenson a lot. The offensive line is good enough. The defense is where I'm kind of pausing a little bit. This is a unit that has been coached up by Belichick and the coordinators for a very long time, and they've not always had the most dominant players on these defenses, especially in the back half of Brady's tenure. Obviously, the early 2000s Patriots defenses were fucking disgusting. Guys like Richard Seymour, Ty Law. You had some murderers rows out there. This is not that. Matthew Judon is a very, very good player on defense. Losing J.C. Jackson will be probably the toughest thing that this team will have to face over the last couple of years. Jonathan Jones and Jalen Mills will try their best. Marcus Jones and Jack Jones, I believe, were drafted this season and have the potential to be impact guys at corner. But there's going to be a lot of just revolving parts in the secondary. It's going to take a lot to replace the production of a J.C. Jackson, and I don't expect it to happen immediately. So they are going to have to get creative, and they're going to have to play extremely well as a team, because there's not a single person on this defense that I think is the difference maker to win them games. This is a team that is going to have to dominate the pace of play. They will have to dominate time of possession. They will have to make teams mold to how they play. And in this AFC, there's a lot more offenses that are far better. And defensively, even those teams that have those great offenses, their defenses stack up pretty decently against this team. Like Buffalo's defense is improved. Kansas City's defense improved damn near. It did. They were able to get a starting corner, and they got Karlaftis late in the draft. The Chargers added all pro-level players in every area of deficiency on defense, and the offenses have gotten better. And that's the problem the Patriots are facing. For a very long time, the AFC was very top-heavy. For a bulk of Tom Brady's time in New England, he had to get past Manning, and that was basically his toughest test besides maybe Ben or the Ravens in the postseason. Because the Chargers had their fatal flaw. Cincinnati was always Cincinnati. You get what I'm saying. This is a AFC that I don't think Belichick has seen in a very long time. And I don't think this team is built to withstand an AFC this deep. Because last season they sneaked into the playoffs, but it took took the Ravens' entire franchise dying for a year. It took Cleveland playing terribly with Baker Mayfield. It took the Chargers literally just selling their season in the final, not selling their season. It took the Chargers losing to the Texans due to COVID. A lot happened last year for the Patriots to make the playoffs.
Losing to Jacksonville.
Like, I'm going to look at the AFC standings from last year, and let's just do a thought exercise.
And okay. While you look that up real quick, like Mac Jones, 3,800 yards, 22 touchdowns, 13 picks. Not a bad rookie season for sure, but he doesn't have any movement with his legs. He didn't get very many rush yards last year. And like Pro Football Focus has their line as top 10 with high floor. And obviously Cole Strange is kind of like that possible hole for them. But even if he has good protection, it he's not throwing to these insanely good guys. There's no when I look at this, I don't see a number one guy. I see maybe a couple of twos and mostly threes. Like they just haven't been able to produce. Damian Harris was a good short yardage back and getting touchdowns. Apparently Stevenson is supposed to get a decent amount of carries this year. So I think their run game could be good, but Mac Jones's run game isn't good, and he's not going to create those plays with his legs. So they could go 10-7 again, or maybe 9-8. And I think that's kind of their ceiling. There's not really. We're not going to pick them a whole lot against the prime teams, and they finished second last year, so they're going to have a tougher schedule. You're going to have to play the Bills twice. They would have to beat the Jets and Miami all 4 times.
Yep.
So you got to take those 4 wins, and then you got to win most of your toss-up games, which there's going to be a lot for New England this year because it looks like you're going to lose both games to Buffalo.
Yeah. So here's the thing for me. New England's season will be determined on how big of a jump Mac Jones can take. And I don't see a whole lot of room for a crazy jump in his production. He had a very, very good rookie year. He threw for damn near 4,000 yards. He had 20-plus touchdowns and 13 picks. He will have to drop the number of interceptions and bump. He'll have to go from like 22 touchdowns to closer to 33, 34, in my opinion. The yardage could be the same. He was basically 4,000 yards. That's about what you need out of your quarterback to be a competitive team. If you're going to be competitive through the air, 4,000 used to be the litmus test. 5,000 is slowly becoming the new standard, but that is for your elite of elite guys. Herbert's, Brady's, Burrow's going to probably pace for 5,000 this year. Josh Allen has the capacity to do it. Mahomes can do it. Looking at the AFC at large, this is the standings from last year. So I'm going to read off the teams that had a better record than New England. Bills, Chiefs, Titans. I'm going to read off the teams that had the same record as New England last year. So New England was 10-7. The Raiders, the Bengals. It's the Raiders and the Bengals. Those are 2 teams that had the same exact record. I'm going to read you the teams that were 1 win behind the Patriots last season.
Teams that went 9-8.
Teams that went 9-8 last season. The Dolphins, the Chargers, Steelers, Colts. And just to have some fun, I'm going to throw in the last couple of teams that greatly improved or are going to be far healthier coming out of this season. The Browns went 8-9. The Ravens went 8-9. The Broncos went 7-10. And some people are coining them as a Super Bowl contender. Out of all of those teams, the only teams that I'm going to say the Patriots are still on par with in terms of the grand scheme, I'll give them the Raiders. I think the Dolphins might have leapfrogged them this year. The Dolphins have improved vastly, while the Patriots kind of stood pat, and they've improved marginally here and there. But the Dolphins got better. The Chargers somehow got better. The Broncos got a quarterback for the first time in 10 years. The Steelers are the Steelers. The Browns, until week 11, they're not really better. The Ravens are going to be healthier, knock on wood. The Colts should be better. It's a lot of teams improving in the areas where they were extremely deficient last season, and the Patriots being the Patriots. So I'm sorry if I'm not gung-ho over the fact that the Pats should be a wild card team. I think they're on the outside looking in, and I think they could win 8-9 games and still miss the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if they won 7.
Like Perfect Season Podcast said earlier, if 11 games might not be enough and maybe get you in on tiebreakers, the Patriots aren't going to win 11 games. I just don't see it, especially with a harder schedule. If we're talking about Miami having a fucking front-loaded schedule in the beginning of the season, like Patriots have to be harder, obviously, because of the way scheduling works now. But no, this team can't win 11 games. If our threshold to make the playoffs in the AFC is 11 games, the Patriots are out. 100%, they're out. It would take a smorgasbord of injuries like it did last year for them to make the playoffs again, because they arguably would have got beaten out by Baltimore. They should have got beaten out by the Colts, but they like beating themselves. They should have got beaten out by the Chargers, but like you said, the Chargers beat themselves in a handful of games. The Raiders finished 10-7. They arguably got better. The Chiefs are better. The Bengals are better. The Titans are better. The Bills are better. I'm just naming 9 different teams that are better than them, and we only got 7 spots. So,
well, this is the thing. So I'm looking at the schedule as we have with the other teams. Starting the year, you got Dolphins, Steelers, Ravens, Packers. They could go 2-2, but I'm picking Miami week 1 just because if Miami doesn't beat the Patriots week 1, I think Miami's season is going to be very long. And same thing goes for New England. I think New England has the capacity to beat the Steelers. So they could go 2-2 in this stretch, or 1-3, depending on how it's going. So fuck it. I'll give them Miami. We're going optimistic, best case scenario for these teams. They're going to contradict, obviously, because the best case scenario leads to a worst case scenario for their division opponents. So Dolphins, Steelers, that's 2 wins. Lions, Browns, Bears, Jets. 6 wins, I guess?
All 4 of those.
Yeah, 6 wins. So they have 6 wins coming into this stretch. Colts, Jets, Vikings, Bills. 7 wins. Then they got Cardinals, Raiders, Bengals, Dolphins, Bills. They have 9 wins. Best case, they have 9
Where
wins.
is that last Miami game?
They're playing in New England.
Okay, so that's a little better for them. So I do like giving. I think New England would start 1-3 if they go to Hard Rock first, but they can get Miami later on in the year in Foxborough, as I usually do. I just give the home team the win in that situation if I feel like it's a toss-up. But towards the end of the season, it's not looking too good for them. They got a backloaded schedule, and they're playing the tough teams at the worst time.
Yeah, and the thing with that is if they lose to Miami week 1, beat them on the back half in Foxborough, that is a maximum of 9 wins. And I'm giving them the game against the Cardinals and the game against the Raiders in that projection. And those are 2 games that both of the other teams could most definitely win. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
If Cliff Kingsbury gets fired before that game, then we can give it to the Cardinals at that point.
That's what I'm saying. The only teams that I'm sitting here and saying, yeah, the Pats should beat them, it's the Lions, the Browns, the Bears, and the Jets. And they should be able to beat Miami one time, and they could possibly even beat a team like the Steelers. But best case scenario, I think Miami splits against New England. They're a 9-win team at the peak, and more realistically, they're 7 to 8 wins. I just think offensively, they're not going to have the firepower to keep up in a shootout. And I think they're going to find themselves in shootouts because against the Raiders, while yes, their defense is one of my least favorite in the AFC, their offense stacks up quite nice against New England, especially whenever you don't have J.C. Jackson and Devontae Adams is the number 1 guy out there. Someone's getting doubled, and if it's not Darren Waller or Hunter Renfrow, Derek Carr can hit his guys. He's done it for years.
Yeah, the Patriots aren't built to win shootouts. They're just not.
That's not who they are, and the AFC is essentially the Wild West. This is the AFC over-unders for matchups for a lot of the year. I'm picking the over because you have a lot of very, very good offenses, and which is why they're favored against teams like the Steelers, the Browns, Bears, and Jets, because they're not going to get caught in this gunslinging mentality. But Matt Ryan's throwing the ball this year, and Jonathan Taylor's one of the best backs in football. So even if it is a pace of play game, I think the Colts are talented enough to beat the Pats. The Vikings, Kevin O'Connell, they're going to sling the rock. The Bills, it's Josh fucking Allen. They're slinging the rock. Kyler Murray, hucking that thing. Derek Carr's airing it out this year. Josh McDaniels loves to throw the ball. Bengals, hello, it's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They're facing aerial attacks that are leagues better than most of the other contemporaries in the NFC, outside of the top 4 or 5 teams.
Yeah.
But speaking of top 4 or 5 teams, we might be talking about the number 1 team in all of the AFC this season. We're taking things over to your favorite kind of wing, Austin, Buffalo. I don't know if that's true, actually. I just thought it was funny. But
wings are okay.
I digress. This is a team that lost to Kansas City in what was effectively Mexico City Part 2, but in the playoffs. Hell of a game. Gabe Davis, welcome to the NFL. I know he's been playing for years, but he had his breakout party in Kansas City. This is a team that had a definitive problem because Tre'Davious White was out with an ACL injury for most of last year. Their secondary couldn't keep up with teams. As talented as it was, in the playoffs, they got not exposed. It was just the coin didn't flip their way. I don't care what anybody says. The overtime rules are the rules. Everybody signs up for it. Tough shit.
They should have never been in overtime in the first place. It's as simple as that. I get it. Defenses are tired and they're just blowing each other out at that point. But they put themselves in the best position to win, and they still failed.
Yep.
You can argue about the overtime rules all you want, but in the end, with 14 seconds left, you can't give up 40-something yards. Simple as that. But I asked the question yesterday. It's easy consensus, the Bills. This is their division to lose, and it's not particularly close. No, And there's nothing that tells me that they are going to lose this division. As long as Josh Allen is still the quarterback, you have Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie. Dawson Knox turned out to be a great tight end for Josh Allen last year. Devin Singletary, James Cook, Zach Moss. I don't know what they're doing with that backfield. They said committee, but Singletary had a good second half of the year, but I think they're okay whichever way they lean. I don't know what the offense is going to look like without Brian Dable. Brian Dable elevated that offense to elite. Josh Allen getting some great runs in there, just putting teams on their backs consistently. The defense is elite. Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones. They signed Von Miller, Tremaine Edmonds, Jordan Porter, Micah Hyde, Dane Jackson, Terrell Bernard. This team is pretty much stacked at both aspects of the ball, and there's really they finished. Let's see, 11 and 6. Wow, they finished 11 and 6. I don't remember them losing 6 games last year. Wow, this is a 13-win team. This is a 12 to 13 win team for me. I just don't foresee them losing this division. They could easily be the number 1 seed. Next to the Chiefs, they're the best team. We've seen those two teams clash heads in back-to-back years, and yes, the Chiefs have come out on top both times, but the Bills have never wavered in the slightest in either of those.
So Brian Dable being gone is going to affect this team essentially on paper. You know what's great whenever you lose your offensive coordinator? You retain the guy that was your quarterback coach through the development of Josh Allen. And you want to know what's also cool about Ken Dorsey, the new offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills? Before he was the Bills quarterbacks coach, you know what other team he coached quarterbacks for from 2013 to 2017?
Oh, boy.
The Carolina Panthers. Cam Newton's MVP season was under the tutelage of Ken Dorsey as a quarterback coach. Cam Newton and Josh Allen are different players. Josh Allen has all the talent in the world, and Ken Dorsey was able to unlock Cam Newton out in Carolina. Brian Dable, the interesting thing about coordinators at the NFL level, especially regardless of the team, you look at the Niners, Kyle Shanahan has lost multiple coordinators over the last couple of years. Sean McVay over the last couple of years loses coordinator after coordinator. They're still good teams because if your head coach is there, the head coach is the important part because you're setting a culture, and it's not like the players forget a system. Brian Dable's system will still be there enough for the player because Josh Allen, that's all he's ran. So the lasting effects of the Daboll system will still be there in terms of the offensive coordination because he was still coordinating under Sean McDermott's tutelage. I don't think the Bills are scheduled to lose as much offensively as a team like Miami is scheduled to lose defensively, if that makes sense. Because losing your head coach is far different than losing a coordinator. Buffalo's still going to do what Buffalo's been doing. It might be in a different way marginally due to Ken Dorsey being the new coordinator, but I expect a lot of the same that was going on with Daboll as the offensive coordinator, if not some minute changes. But McDermott has proven himself to be one of the better coaches in the NFL over the last 4 years. And with a quarterback like Josh Allen, I think it's safe to assume that the offense will be just fine, especially whenever they have Stephon Diggs, the miraculous rotating room of running backs. Their offensive line is still damn pretty good. And they're not going to be getting that. The defense is not going to leave them on the field a whole lot. I think this defense is going to be able to get them off of the field and give them breaks. Leslie Frazier is the defensive coordinator out in Buffalo. Leslie Frazier is a very good defensive mind. And it'd be one thing if they didn't give him the pieces to make this defense run. But, man, this is the best defense in the division, and I don't think it's close. Safety duo of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde is one of the best in the NFL. Von Miller and Greg Rousseau on the edges. If you haven't heard about Greg Rousseau, look him up. Dude's wingspan is fucking ridiculous. He is able to get to quarterbacks basically by leveraging his length. Like, I've seen plays of him, and he just literally, if he jams you, you can't touch him. That's how long his arms are, damn near. Ed Oliver in the inside, along with Daquan Jones. Big bodies. Ed Oliver is a very good tackle. Von Miller, do I need to say more? Maybe he's washed. I'd rather have Von Miller than Bobby Wagner at this point.
What a fucking addition, huh? Seriously.
Tremaine Edmonds, solid middle linebacker. Matt Milano, underrated. Kyer Elam, one of the better corner prospects in the draft that they got in the later first, early second round. Dane Jackson. Only thing that worries me about this defense is how well the secondary will play without Tre'Davious White for the first 4 weeks, now that he was named to the PUP list. But adding Kyer Elam gives them a bit of cushion. This is a team that will be able to rush the quarterback and make quarterbacks have to make risky decisions. Time in the pocket will be minimized with this front four. And you got Poyer and Micah Hyde doing the high-low safety thing. So I think this defense will be totally fine. And I see no reason.
Is that what they do?
Yeah, exactly.
I
Anyone that has a coaching vacancy, hit me up, I guess. No, but the offense should not take a step back. The offense should be as good as advertised, if not a bit better. Gabe Davis got better. Isaiah McKenzie is officially the slot guy for this offense. And I'll tell you something. I think Isaiah McKenzie is more talented than Cole Beasley was the last couple of years of his career, just in terms of raw athletic ability. Dawson Knox is a target hog in the end zone. It's every team in the AFC got better, but one of the best teams in the AFC got better, and people should not take that for granted.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say about them because they've just been so dominant, and they're going to be dominant again. They had some weird losses last year. They didn't show up against Jacksonville at all. Josh Allen beat up Josh Allen, so that was kind of weird. They played, the second half of the season without Tremaine Edmonds? Because they lost an injury, so
Tre'Davious White.
Tre'Davious White, thank you.
Their star cornerback, one of the better coverage guys in the league whenever he's healthy. Like, you lose the top 10 corner, your defense is going to suffer a bit, i.e. against the Chiefs in the playoffs.
It's the track of Tre'Davious White.
He's on PUP, so he's going to miss the first 4 weeks for certain, and then I'm not sure about after that. But even then, I think this defense is good enough. Kyer Elam is a solid enough corner to rest, because as soon as Tre'Davious is back, Kyer Elam probably slots in as the nickel corner or the secondary corner. And Dane Jackson is good enough to start right now, so I'm not super worried about him as the number 3. Especially whenever your safeties are as good as they are.
Yeah, so the first 4 games without Tre'Davious White will be Rams, Titans, Dolphins, Ravens. I think they can 3-1 that. I think they maybe drop. I'm picking them against the Rams this Thursday. The Titans are tough because if Derrick Henry's healthy, he tore their asses apart last year.
I'm picking the Bills against the Titans. I have little faith in the Titans. I have little. That's funny. I picked the Titans win their division. My problem with the Titans is the same problem I'm going to have with New England. The Titans are a tier above New England, but they're also the same design as we are going to grit and grind and dominate time of possession. Buffalo is very hard to dominate the time of possession with because of this upgraded defense. Like Robert Woods against Kyer Elam is not scaring me, especially with Ryan Tannehill throwing passes. And with the front 4, with Russo, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, and Von Miller, Derrick Henry might have some trouble. Because let's not sit here and say that the Titans' offensive line is as great as it's been over the last couple of years. Taylor Lewan regressed last year. This is an offensive line in Tennessee that, for lack of better terms, is not the best they've been. And the receiving core is worse than last year. So it would take their defense just sunning Josh Allen, like Josh Allen did last year for the Jags. And I think Allen's on an MVP path. He's probably going to pace for MVP this year. He was in the discussion last year. It was just Rodgers and Brady were hyper efficient. But this Buffalo team feels about as undeniable as anybody else in the AFC. They have the least amount of questions compared to every other top team.
Yeah, and when they get Tre'Davious White back, then there's no questions. It feels like at that point. And even if you question their running back room, Josh Allen has legs. Comes up with the rushing yards anyways. Like it ends up not mattering. It would take Josh Allen getting hurt for this team to be in a bad spot.
But yeah, well, if any starting quarterback in the NFL gets hurt, odds are you're in a bad spot. Aside from the Chargers, whenever Tyrod Taylor got down with his lung. There's very, very limited cases where your starter goes down and you're better off with the backup. If Case Keenum's starting games, no shit, they're probably going to be in a bad spot. But Josh Allen is a top 3 guy in the league at his position. And for everybody worried about the running back room, if you're not playing fantasy, who gives a shit? You've got 3 guys that come from good schools and are pretty talented. Singletary finally showed up last year. James Cook is Dalvin Cook's younger brother. Do I need to say more? And Zach Moss.
I guess I reword this in the sense of, yes, if you lose your starting quarterback, you're in a bad spot. It's just more of the other teams that we've talked about have questions in certain places. The Bills just don't have questions. The only way I feel like they could lose is an injury. Like, at least if other teams are losing, we're like, okay, these are the question marks we've had. This is where they've been exposed. I don't know where somebody exposed the Buffalo Bills. Is basically where I'm at.
The Buffalo Bills, essentially, the only way I see them missing the playoffs is a large-scale injury bug, i.e. Baltimore last year. That is the one thing that can derail this team. That's the one thing that can derail anybody. So that's happenstance and circumstance. But all things equal, everybody fully healthy, Buffalo should be the pacer for this entire thing. I think the AFC West is too deep for Kansas City to win 14 games. I think the AFC South, maybe if the Colts or the Titans are just fucking hot, could do it. The North is too deep for anybody to win 13, 14 games. The Bills division is relatively deep, but the top end of their division is them and them alone. So that's the problem, because Kansas City and the Chargers are effectively neck and neck. If you're looking just drawing straws, they
Buffalo
are very talented.
6-0 their division, and we wouldn't question it in the slightest.
Yeah, Kansas City can 4-2 their division. The Chargers can 4-2 their division, but there's not a whole lot of teams that have the genuine opportunity to 6-0 the division. Beyond, because the Colts and Titans are going to kick the shit out of each other. The AFC North is going to be 3 teams that are like 9-8 and a 10-7 making it out because they're that good. It's just that competitive. But yeah, Buffalo is the team that has the path to be the number 1 seed. And if they don't get the number 1 seed, it's going to be interesting to see how I feel about them come playoffs, because they will have dropped games against teams that they should not have dropped.
Okay, so before we get into like our week 1 predictions, since we're done with all our divisions, let's round it out.
Yep.
So in the AFC, you and I believe have picked all the same division. No, you picked the Chargers to win the division. I picked the Chiefs. Okay.
Can't believe you did that. That's just can't believe you've done this. Yeah, Chargers or
we
Chiefs.
We both picked Baltimore. Both picked Tennessee.
Yep.
We both picked Buffalo.
Wild cards would then be.
So it sounds like both of us at least have the Chargers and the Chiefs in the playoffs, and then Buffalo, Tennessee, and Baltimore, Tennessee, Buffalo, Kansas City, and the Chargers. Who are the other 2 wild cards for you?
Fuck. Okay. Let me just look up AFC divisions real quick.
For me, it's Denver and Indianapolis.
I can't argue a whole lot against that. I'm
sorry. Denver and Cincinnati.
Okay, because I was sitting there, I was like, Indy over Cincy is tough. I think Indy over Denver is doable. I'd probably go Cincy and Indy. Not because Denver is bad. I just think the AFC West is going to be too competitive for 3 teams to get out.
They do. It is possible for them to just beat the shit out of each other and just.
The only other teams outside of Buffalo that I think have a shot at the 1 seed are the Chargers and the Chiefs. Whatever way their seasons break, I think they could both have a claim to 12 to 14 wins. I think the Chargers could win 14, genuinely, if everything goes right. I think the Chiefs could win 13 to 14 if everything goes right. The Bills should win 14 games.
Yeah.
Just with how everything's stacking out.
Buffalo's my number 1 seed.
If the Chiefs and the Chargers each rattle off 11 wins, I find it hard for Denver to crack 10, in my opinion. Because they're effectively going to drop like 3 to 4 games in division against those 2 teams. So it's tough. I would like to say a 3rd team comes out, because gives the Chargers a better chance at the playoffs. So I guess, we'll go Cincy and then Denver.
Okay.
But I would not be surprised if Indianapolis. Well, Buffalo's the 1 seed.
Okay. Then the NFC. We have we both picked the Rams. We both picked the Packers. We both picked
Bucks,
and we both picked the Eagles.
Yes.
For me, it's Dallas,
Mhm.
New Orleans,
San
and
Francisco.
San Francisco.
100%. I can't digress against that. The only team that I think could be a fringe bubble type. I think San Francisco's a lock. They're too talented. No. So yeah, probably Arizona could sneak in because realistically, after the top five, there's a definitive drop off for sure in terms of the playoff teams. You have your top four teams because we said Rams, Bucks, Eagles, and what was the other team? Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, okay, yeah, this is difficult. So let me drop the Saints out and give me the Vikings.
Okay.
I think the Vikings have a better shot than the Cardinals as well. The NFC West is too good.
I just can't. Yeah, I can't pick Arizona because the Cliff Kingsbury effect. I just can't do it. They're going to tunnel off in the last couple weeks of the year, and it's going to come out of the playoffs. If I were to push any team out for Minnesota, because I think Minnesota is so it's between two teams for me that'll either finish in the wild card or finish eighth. It's between Dallas and Minnesota because I don't know. I like New Orleans enough for them to get there because I think if Winston can play 17 games, he can get them there. He was 5-2. I think he has a much better wide receiver core. I think they have a good defense, so I can keep New Orleans in there. But even my own team, Dallas, has so many questions. Yes, we signed Jason Peters, but Jason Peters is 40 fucking years old. I don't know what he has left in the tank. I don't know if Aaron Smith is going to even play a snap this year. I don't know what the wide receiver room looks like. I don't know if Zeke is going to play healthy. I don't know what Tony Pollard is going to do. I don't know if Dak is healthy. I don't know. Like me and Josh said last week, the Dallas defense was great last year, but they're not going to score 8 touchdowns again.
Yeah.
They scored a lot of fucking touchdowns and put themselves in a lot of spot. And some of those touchdowns were in blowout games anyways against Washington, Philadelphia, B team. There's a lot of blowout games that elevated our stats to look really fucking good. And I just don't think we can do that this year. So I'm still picking Dallas to make the wild card because Jerry Jones will lose his shit if we don't make the playoffs because we are the New York Yankees, basically. It's playoffs and World Series. Super Bowl or bust. But Minnesota has a significantly improved offense, a much better head coach.
And an improved defense.
There's 31 head coaches better than Mike McCarthy. So is Mike McCarthy still the head coach? It's tough to pick. So I'm gonna put Dallas in the wild card. But if they were to get knocked out by Minnesota because simply Minnesota is just better, because they kind of have the same conundrum we do. They get to play the Bears and the Lions. We get to play the Commanders and the Giants. So we both are kind of sitting on these free 4 wins, but we have to beat the Eagles at least once, and Minnesota kind of has to beat the Packers at least once, maybe. But the Vikings are going to have an easier schedule than we are because we're playing the first place schedule. We're playing Cincinnati, and I think we're playing Baltimore at some point. We're playing Arizona. So we're playing some tough-ass teams way harder than what Minnesota has. So that's kind of where I'm at.
So we're locked in on the top 5. I think the Niners are locked for the playoffs. The NFC West is worse this year than it was last year. I think the Niners are improved. The Saints schedule: Falcons, Bucks, Panthers, Vikings, Seahawks, Bengals, Cardinals, Raiders, Ravens, Steelers, Rams, Niners, Bucks, Falcons, Browns, Eagles, Panthers. My problem with the Saints is not the talent on their roster. It's the loss of Sean Payton. It's the improvements within their own division. I do think Minnesota and Dallas are at a distinct advantage compared to the boys out there in New Orleans for the sole fact that they have, while, yes, Kevin O'Connell's a rookie head coach, Dennis Allen is also a rookie head coach. And the problem with the Saints has been their offense over the last couple of years, whether it be due to quarterbacks, health, whatever you want to name it. I'm not convinced about Dennis Allen's identity on offense. I know the defense will be there, and that'll be great. But we're also looking at a division where Baker Mayfield is now the starting quarterback in Carolina, and he's the best arm that they've had since Cam Newton wasn't washed. I get it. It's not a crazy improvement over Sam Darnold, or is it? DJ Moore is a very good receiver. Christian McCaffrey should be healthy. Their defense is really good for how young they are. They have Brian Burns. They have Jeremy Chin. The Panthers are going to play spoiler this year. I genuinely feel the Panthers are going to make the NFC South really muddy, and I think they could actually be pushing for an outside looking in wildcard spot come week 8 of this season. I don't think they make it by any sense of the matter, but I think Carolina improving the way that they have really hurts the upside of New Orleans. And I think Seattle being as bad as they are, well, the Niners aren't worried. So remove that point. The Commanders being as bad as they should be, the Giants being as lost as they are as a franchise, and the Bears are the worst team in the league, and the Lions are improved, but I think offensively they still don't stack up against this Minnesota team, and defensively they're very similar. The roads for Minnesota and Dallas, especially in their divisions, should be easier than what we're going to find out in New Orleans. And I just think, even though Mike McCarthy's not my favorite guy at head coach, I've never seen Dennis Allen coach. And even at Mike McCarthy's worst, he leads teams to the playoffs. It's not like Dak is out for the season. Obviously, injuries will play into this, but I think Minnesota's
some team that we're predicting might get knocked out by injuries. It just happens. But
with Kevin O'Connell,
we're not here to be who's going to get hurt, who's the injury bug this year. It happens to 1 or 2 teams every single year.
Yeah, with Kevin O'Connell under the reins as head coach, you have Justin Jefferson, you have Adam Thielen, you have KJ Osborne, you have Madison, you have Dalvin Cook, you have offensive line help. The defense, you got one of the Smith guys. It's going to be a good team. I can't tell you if it's Preston. I think it's Za'Darius, if I'm going to be correct. But they're improved on defense, and it's not like Patrick Peterson is completely washed. They have a very solid defensive unit in terms of if they can stay healthy. Harrison Smith is no person to shake a stick at. Eric Kendricks is a solid linebacker. This is a team that has been waiting to compete for the last 4 years, but Mike Zimmer's like, nah, I don't think we will. So I'm optimistic for Minnesota. People have talked about them usurping the Packers for so long. I don't think they've jumped the Packers this year, but to count them out of the wild card just seems disingenuous, especially after we were so high on them last year with a guy like Mike Zimmer. The offense should improve by leaps and bounds. New Orleans is a great football team and a great football city with some really great players, but I have a lot of questions coming into the year. Can Mike Thomas play a fully healthy year? Who is Jarvis Landry at this point? Is Kamara going to get suspended? He probably won't.
So.
He probably won't. It's probably for 2023.
Though.
But who knows? Crazier shit has happened.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay hasn't slowed down. The only way that I see New Orleans beating out Minnesota, I think New Orleans has to win their division in a shocking turn of events, which they quite possibly could do. But they have to be like 1 game behind Tampa to make this playoff push, because I just think Detroit and the Bears aren't going to put up enough resistance in the NFC North, and I don't think the Commanders or the Giants are going to put up enough resistance in the NFC East. So it's New Orleans, Dallas, or Minnesota, but I'm going to side with the 2 teams that have incredible offenses and defenses that are not as good as New Orleans on paper, but should be able to produce similar production if everything's right.
Okay. Super Bowl matchup. I want to say that it's going to be Buffalo and Tampa Bay, with Buffalo finally breaking the curse. If there's any one team that I feel like could shock people and just be the toughest team to play in a 1-game playoff, it's the Chargers. But the thing is, and I'm not being a homer for you, it's just I look at the team, and yes, they've made an enormous amount of improvements. The offense is absolutely elite out of its fucking mind. And if the chemistry is able to come together fairly quickly and they don't give up 10,000 rushing yards a game, they're going to be a tough team to put down because they have the pass coverage. They just need the running game coverage. And if you can keep the run game coverage down on a guy like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, then you guys can beat them. You can. You have the secondary to beat those two, but you got to keep the rushing down. That'll be the big thing for the Chargers.
That's
if their
why
rushing defense has improved, then they're good to go.
So easy answer for my Super Bowl prediction. The number 1 seed in the AFC more than likely is going to make the Super Bowl this year. I think home field advantage is going to be the biggest thing because the teams are so damn close. Yeah. Only team that I think could go on the road and probably win it out, I think it's the Chargers. Because your question is the interior defensive line against the rushing attack. This defense looks nothing like last year's team. Like, genuinely. We added the top corner in free agency. We added arguably 2 of the top interior defenders in free agency. We added Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson. the rotation of defensive tackles is going to be 100 times better this season than it was last season. Obviously, injuries will affect it. The Chargers have every piece needed to make the bowl this year and seriously have a shot to win it. They have an answer for every question they had last season. Easy answer, give me the 1 seed out of the AFC. If there's a team that's not the 1 seed that's going to make it out of the AFC, it's the Chargers. So I guess mark me down for incumbent 1 seed or the Los Angeles Chargers. It's not a sexy pick by any means, and maybe I'm a homer for the Chargers. On paper, they're the best team in the AFC. They have the most talent at the most important impact positions, and they have that because of the money being paid to their quarterback. And every other top contender has money tied up in their quarterback to a max extent, because Josh Allen just got his extension. So it's not that the teams aren't as talented. It's that the teams are as talented, but they have to sacrifice in certain aspects of the game. That could lead to – I just think there's a reason why Mahomes made the Super Bowl 2 out of 4 years as a starter on his rookie scale contract. There's a reason why Josh Allen felt like a lock for the AFC title during his rookie contract. It's the way the league works. And I think the Chargers are deeper. The Chargers are damn near more talented than anybody, and I think they're hungry. And it'd be different if Herbert wasn't breaking every record on pace for years in the league. If Herbert maintains his production or improves by anything this season, I think they are the toughest team to beat in the league. And tell me if that's hyperbole. I don't know. Knock on wood. These things happen. It's Buffalo or the Chargers out of the AFC for me. And for the NFC, I don't think it's Tampa. I don't think it's the Rams. I think the Niners probably make it out of the NFC. They were a play away last year. Stafford's elbow is giving him issues, and their defense downgraded. Aaron Donald's the best defender in the league, and Jalen Ramsey's a top 3 corner. Yes, but they can't keep getting away with it. And if Matthew Stafford's arm is going to be an issue for the entire year, I cannot push my eggs into that basket, especially with Cam Akers off of the Achilles averaging 2 yards a carry. Tampa is the best bet against a team like the Niners, but Brady's 45. Their defense...
I can't pick against Brady because he threw for 5,000 last year. No signs of slowing down. The problem is I can't pick Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo to win a Super Bowl or to win an NFC championship. I know Jimmy's done it before.
That's why I'm picking them, because the thing is, Jimmy wasn't extraordinarily great last year, and they were 1 play away from the Super Bowl effectively. Like, genuinely, they get that pick, they probably go to the Super Bowl, and then whatever happens there, happens there. I think they had a shot to beat the Bengals. Trey Lance just has to be better than Jimmy Garoppolo has been. And even if he's worse than Jimmy for a stretch, we're counting them as a wild card team at best currently. So Trey struggles at all. Jimmy comes in. If Jimmy is Jimmy over the last 2 years, if the team stays healthy, the Niners are the class of the NFC. I think it's probably Chargers-Niners. And I'm going to pick the Chargers, obviously, because if I picked the Niners, I'd feel like an idiot. So it's Bills or the Chargers out of the AFC. And I'm going to plant my foot. And I think if the Niners stay healthy, they are the class of the NFC. Obviously, the Packers are enticing, but I have to see them start out the year.
I couldn't pick the Packers.
The Packers could easily evolve into the Super Bowl favorite for the NFC by week 8, but I'm not going to pick them coming into the year. I think the Niners, fully healthy,
even if they became the Super Bowl favorite, just they have found a way to lose it every time. They have won Super Bowl, yes, with Mike McCarthy, but Matt Fleur and Aaron Rodgers have just found a way to be great every single regular season and then just shit it away the next game. Until they prove, it's why I picked the Chiefs for the AFC West. Until they prove me otherwise, I'm just going to pick what history has shown me, because history is always bound to repeat itself.
Yeah. And that's the thing for me. The only team that has been able to beat the Niners in the playoffs, only teams that have beat the Niners in the playoffs over the last 3 years are the Chiefs and the Rams. That's it. The Rams got worse. The Chiefs got worse. And this healthy Niners team is just, pardon my French, it's fucking scary. Yeah. And the thing is, Trey Lance doesn't have to be Justin Herbert. He doesn't have to be Josh Allen. He just has to be better than Jimmy. And this team is right there, because they were just there, and the NFC has not drastically improved anywhere. Most teams stayed the same or marginally got better. Bobby Wagner to Von Miller. Don't love it. Don't hate it. Allen Robinson from Odell Beckham Jr., minor upgrade. Matthew Stafford's elbow, slight downgrade. The Bucks, without their starting left tackle, if I'm correct, or their right tackle, whoever it was, their offensive line is depleted. No more Antonio Brown. Julio could be cool. Julio could be wash. The Niners have their guys. They just got to figure out who's quarterback. And then bringing back Jimmy Garoppolo is the insurance that I need to say, even if Jimmy's there, Jimmy's good enough to get them right there.
So if Jimmy wasn't the back quarterback, you wouldn't pick him?
If they had fucking Byron Mullins behind, Nick Mullins, sorry. If they had that guy behind Trey Lance, former NBA center. If they had Nick Mullins behind Trey Lance, I have problems. But Jimmy Garoppolo is one of the safest floor. Jimmy Garoppolo is Teddy Bridgewater that can actually hit his weapons and run an offense consistently because Kyle Shanahan is the guy there. Trey Lance has to be Jalen Hurts to 85% of what Jalen Hurts is this year. And I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to win the league MVP because Jalen Hurts is probably going to be like 85% of what Lamar Jackson is. You know what I'm saying? It's like Trey Lance just has to be better than Jimmy Garoppolo. And there's 10, 15 quarterbacks over the last 3 years that have been better than Jimmy Garoppolo. If Trey Lance puts up Derek Carr numbers, this Niners team is playing in the Super Bowl.
Oh, goodness. It's too early in the day.
Yeah, the only problem with Trey Lance is lack of experience. But in the flashes I've seen, he has poise and he has the arm to actually get people the ball. His decision-making will be the biggest it'll be the biggest detriment to where this team can go. If he struggles early, they're going to be forced to bring in Jimmy. But this defense is good enough and the offensive pieces are good enough to where I think he's going to be a game manager for a lot of the games, but he's going to give you the upside of being able to break open some plays where Jimmy just couldn't.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish off
week
this
one.
Episode. Long episode, but we got to get those week one predictions in. Football starts on Thursday with the Buffalo Bills heading into SoFi and taking on the Los Angeles Rams.
Hangovers are real. Give me the Bills. Hangovers are real. The Bills are pissed off about the AFC divisional matchup. And the Rams, they're an older team. Like I like the Rams, but with Stafford's elbow, I think Cooper Kupp will have to have a massive game. It's probably going to be like 35-38. It's going to be a score in the 30s. No Tre'Davious White makes the Rams a fun team to pick. But this Buffalo defense is improved, and I think Buffalo's offense is on par with the Rams' offense, especially if Cam Akers isn't like dominating on the ground. It's going to be a shootout, and Stephon Diggs and Jalen Ramsey that's the key matchup. And then they're going to have to figure out how to give me the Bills. The Bills are who I'm going to go with. The Bills are going to be the pacer.
Hangover or not, I'm picking the Bills. You can tell me, analysts can tell me, doctors can tell me all they want. I'm very concerned about Matthew Stafford's elbow. I'm 100% because he heaves the ball, and one wrong heave could put him down. Like, yes, he has Allen Robinson now, which essentially replaces Robert Woods, and Allen Robinson is a great wide receiver, but you don't have Odell. So I don't know.
Van Jefferson there.
Van Jefferson, he's more of the deep ball guy. Like if I remember Van Jefferson, huh?
Yeah, he's a good 3. He's a solid X option whenever you have Cooper in the slot and Robinson on the perimeter.
But it feels like to me that bad stretch that Matthew Stafford had last year is going to happen again, and then it's going to be even longer. It almost feels like it could lose the Rams the division if it hangs over too long. But I am extremely concerned about Matt Stafford. He's old. He's gotten his ass kicked for a long fucking time. It's catching up with him. I don't know how much longer he has left. I don't think they have another Super Bowl run in them. Rams are a great team, but I think they lose this week one matchup.
Yeah, I think the Bills are coming in hot to start the year. They know where they are and what they can do, and I think they understand how much the 1 seed is going to mean to them. The Rams don't need the 1 seed. The Rams can catch lightning in a bottle again and make the Super Bowl. But I think for any team in the AFC that wants to make it to the bowl, they're going to have to really try for that 1 seed. Seeding is going to matter in the AFC more than the NFC.
Yeah.
Lions.
Lions.
Give me the Eagles. The Lions could totally shock the world. Not really shock the world. The Eagles and Lions aren't super far apart. But yeah, give me the Eagles. This is the Jalen Hurts welcome to the show party. All of his weapons are healthy. The defense is improved. One team got supremely better. The other one's improving within house. So, yeah.
Niners, Bears.
Give me the Niners. I think Justin Fields might just have to sit this one out. I don't see why putting your future out there to get eaten alive by Nick Bosa and Javon Kinlaw makes sense. Yeah, the Niners by at least 2 scores.
Yeah, not a particularly close matchup there. Steelers, Bengals.
Bengals. Give me the Bengals. Mike Tomlin's cool. Jamar Chase is cooler. So,
give me the Bengals. The Steelers shocked us last week, week 1, beating the Bills last year, and they're always a factor, and they are a hard team to pick against. How many times did we pick against the Steelers or pick for the Steelers, and we were wrong almost every time in one of their games? They're one of the hardest games to predict, in my opinion, regardless of who they play. They tied with the Lions. I get it, Mason Rudolph was quarterbacking that week, but they tied with the Lions. So
yeah.
I'm going to pick the Bengals, but dear God, if the Steelers pull it out, like my gut tells me to pick the Steelers, but I'm going to go against my gut, and I want to see what happens. So I'll pick the Bengals. The Patriots, the Dolphins. I'm going to pick the Dolphins. It's in Hard Rock.
Give me Dolphins,
I will always pick those toss-up matchups at home most of the time. Especially in week 1. If it's week 8 and it feels like a toss-up matchup, you look at momentum, this and that. But week 1, give me the Dolphins. Browns and Panthers.
Panthers. Give me the Panthers. They are both flawed teams in different ways. I think the defenses are closer than people would give them credit for. Myles Garrett's going to get to Baker Mayfield, which scares me. But they got Icky in the draft. In a game where the teams are kind of close, I will take the coin flip of Baker Mayfield over Jacoby Brissett for the upside. I think the weapons for Baker are better. And guys like Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Terrace Marshall, CMC is back. And if he plays a full game, the Panthers are better than the Browns. So give me the Panthers. Revenge game for Baker Mayfield. Finally give him something to smile about since he had to move out of his house in Cleveland.
Yeah, even without it being a revenge game, yes, Baker Mayfield's going to go in with a little more emotion, but I don't essentially believe that makes him so much better all of a sudden. But a healthy Christian McCaffrey is going to put up plenty of points against. Christian McCaffrey is going to be better than Jacoby Brissett already, let alone Baker Mayfield being better than Jacoby Brissett. So give me the Panthers. As long as CMC is healthy, I feel comfortable picking the Panthers in a decent amount of games.
Next 3 are super easy.
Yeah, Colts versus Texans.
Give me the Colts. Sorry, Davis Mills.
Saints and Falcons.
Saints.
Although the Falcons could show up with an interesting offense, but I just don't foresee it happening.
Yeah.
It would surprise me if the Falcons won, though. I don't think they're as bad as we think they're going to be. Their offense could really shock some people, but they are also without Calvin Ridley. So if they had Calvin Ridley, I would feel really good about picking them some weeks. But their defense is just so abysmal, and a healthy Winston, conservative or slinging, should be able to win this game.
Yeah.
And then Ravens, Jets. God,
give me the Ravens.
Feast.
I think the Ravens are going to be smashing in mailboxes this year. I think they're pissed. I genuinely feel like the Ravens are probably the scariest team in the AFC because they're going to be battle tested. They're probably going to win their division. They're going to go into the playoffs. Lamar's won playoff games. Harbaugh, outside of Belichick and Tomlin, is the guy in the AFC in terms of playoff success. So Baltimore scares the shit out of me. If there's a team that's not like going to be at the top of the AFC that could win the AFC, it's Baltimore. They are terrifying.
Jacksonville and Washington.
I'm going Jags. I have no faith in the Commanders. Carson Wentz, washed. Terry McLaurin's a great player. Get him a fucking quarterback. Chase Young is a great defender. Get him a fucking defense. The secondary hasn't improved that much. And I think Trevor Lawrence in this Jags offense is going to be fun. They added weapons. Doug Peterson is a decent offensive mind, if not good offensive mind. I think the Commanders are in for a really tough year, even against bad teams.
Yeah, give me Jacksonville too. I think Washington is going to be one of the worst teams in the league. They are tied with a lot of money for Carson Wentz too. That's a big problem. And if their defense is as abysmal as it was last year, they are without Chase Young again. We don't know how many times Antonio Gibson is going to fumble the ball. Once again, prayers up to Brian Robinson Jr. I'm glad he's okay after that scary thing. But now the Commanders are forced to use Antonio Gibson, who they obviously did not want to use, obviously has fumble problems. So Josh said it last week. He's like, the guy you're concerned about fumble problems, you want him to be punt returner, like where his fumbles are much worse. So yeah, just Jacksonville offense should have significantly improved and should show up this week. And I don't have any faith in Carson Wentz. I just simply don't.
I'm not putting money on that guy. Speaking of putting money on that guy, Packers Vikings. I'm going Packers just out of respect for Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings could totally win this game, but I'd rather be on the side of like Saints Packers last year. I'm pleasantly surprised, but there's not a whole lot of pleasant surprises with Green Bay, especially in the playoffs. They're consistent. That's my point.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is a great player. I think the Packers defense is one of the defenses that will give the Vikings problems this year because the Packers defense is legit and they have the secondary. They have the front seven. They got a guy, if I'm correct, they added Quay Walker. And Quay Walker's out in Philadelphia, but they got Devontae Wyatt, right? He's a Packer.
I thought it was Quay Walker, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think it is.
It is Quay Walker.
Yeah, Nakobe Dean went to.
Correct.
Yeah, Nakobe Dean went to the Eagles. So you add guys like Quay Walker and fucking Devontae Wyatt to this defense. Packers are gonna have a really good defense. I expect them to come out and not dominate the Vikings, but I expect them to pull it out. I think their special teams should see improvement after the debacle of last year. They have to at least. And yeah, give me the Packers.
I'm going to pick Minnesota. They did it last year. Minnesota, they beat them. Packers did not show up against the Saints week 1. They got obliterated. If they come out slow again, I think Minnesota is going to come out like a house on fire, especially with the way Kirk Cousins is playing. Just Justin Jefferson, a healthy Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. I think this team is ready to show up. I don't know if they're going to win the division, but I think they can win this week 1 matchup.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Titans and Giants.
Give me the Titans. Saquon Barkley could have a great week. Daniel Jones scares me, falls down when no one's around him. Just give me the Titans. Derrick Henry scares me.
Derrick Henry, 150 yards, 3 touchdowns, something like that.
Ryan Tannehill, one on the ground.
Raiders, Chargers.
Chargers, come on, dude. Let's not get cute here. The Raiders are improved on offense. Their defense fucking sucks, aside from Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones, mind you, is older than Khalil Mack and has had less production than Khalil Mack over the last 3 years. So, yes, an improvement for their defense. But for everything the Raiders can do, the Chargers can effectively do better on paper. They're playing in SoFi, if I'm correct. This Chargers team understands the moment. Brandon Staley understands what's at stake this season. I don't like Josh McDaniels as well.
We know.
It could be a close game. I have the Chargers pulling it out. I think they should win by like 6.
I feel like almost every AFC West matchup is going to be a shootout, and I talked about how Raiders, I don't know how many shootouts they're going to be in because they have the worst defense in this division most likely, even with the addition of Chandler Jones.
They lost
Trayvon Moore. They lost Casey Hayward. Max Crosby is a beast, and I think Trayvon Moore is going to be still really good for them. But the Chargers are just way too much better on paper. Now, if the Raiders pull this out in any AFC West matchup, I'm not going to be surprised who wins. It's just impossible to be like, wow, the Raiders beat the Chargers. Like, I've never seen it coming. No, I could see it coming. It's a freaking madhouse out there.
The only way that the Raiders beat Chargers week 1, so JC Jackson is questionable. So let's see. Okay. So 13 days ago, J.C. Jackson will miss 2 to 4 weeks. So we're probably going into this game without J.C. Jackson. If the Raiders are going to beat the Chargers at all this season, it has to be in week 1. Because if the Chargers are at full strength, there's no way in hell the Chargers lose games to the Raiders. Even without J.C. Jackson, I'm going to pick the Chargers. We have Bryce Callahan. Yeah. We have Asante Samuel Jr. We have Nasir Adderley and Derwin fucking James, the best safety in football whenever he's healthy. I said it. And I will shout it from the rooftops. Bosa and Khalil Mack are disgusting. The running game on defense should be vastly improved. Kyle Van Noy, Drew Tranquill, Kenneth Murray. This defense is built to win games, and the offense has been built to win games for the last year or so. So
regardless, I'm still picking the Chargers to win. I just need to get out there of just like, if Raiders were to win this, it's like, okay, I'm not surprised because it's elite talent all throughout this entire division.
Devontae Adams not having to face J.C. Jackson is a problem.
Yeah. And divisional games in general for every single team in the league
Yeah.
are fucking weird. They're weird.
Yep. 100%.
Cardinals, Chiefs.
Chiefs. Give me the Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Cardinals came out of a cannon last year. I don't know if they I don't think they do that this year. Marquise Brown will be a good addition. I think it'll be a closer game than people expect, but it's just they're not as deep as they were last year. I think their defense got worse, and I just think they'll keep it close, and it should be a competitive game. But Casey has more firepower on offense. They have an improved defense, and Andy Reid is levels above Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah. Give me the Chiefs. Arizona lost to Chandler Jones, so obviously that doesn't help either. So I think it's going to be a shootout for sure. Both quarterbacks are great. Both offenses are really solid, and we have them in a stack in our fantasy league. So we're hoping for a shootout.
It'll be a fun game.
Cowboys Bucks.
Give me the Bucks. No offense to the Cowboys. This is the same matchup as last year. The corner they lost halfway through the game should be fully healthy for this one, so that's going to help the Bucks. Michael Gallup is not anywhere near a football field currently. That's going to help the Bucks. It's the Bucks are back and even in a limited capacity with their offensive line. I think the Dallas defense will have to be as opportunistic as ever because the offense is going to be very limited without guys like Gallup and only having CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz to pass the ball to. Give me the Bucks. It shouldn't be super ugly. I think Dallas's offense can be efficient enough to keep things closer, but it's not going to be last year's game. I think Dallas doesn't have a shot to win this game. It would take Dak going nuclear.
This is the same exact thing everyone said last year, though. We were supposed to get our heads kicked in. We were supposed to do this. We were supposed to do that. And we showed up until Chris Godwin shoved our quarterback to the ground. I'm kidding, but until the last play of the game.
You had one more receiver. You actually had like 3 more receivers to throw to last season comparatively to this game. It's that's my biggest problem. If you guys were fully healthy, I think it's a toss-up. But you guys are severely limited in terms of the weapons you have at your disposal. You're going to have to get very creative because this defense is not bad. I'm
going to pick the Bucks too, but things that are going our way this year that didn't go our way last year against Tampa Bay is that our running game should be a little bit better because their front is a little bit weaker.
Yeah.
They lost JPP. They lost to Dominican Sue. We had to pass the ball pretty much the entire fucking game. The entire fucking game. Zeke had like 50 years or something like that. So we should still have a better running game. But yes, we don't have Amari Cooper. We don't have Michael Gallup. We don't have Tyron Smith. We don't know how bad their secondary is going to be. And by them, I mean Tampa Bay. Because it was bad. And yes, Sean Murphy Bunting did go down during halfway of the game. I think Dallas keeps it competitive. Once again, I think it's going to be a close game coming down to Tom Brady pulling out some voodoo magic.
I think you lose by 7 or 6.
Yeah,
I think you lose by 7 or 6. My thing with this game is it'd be one thing if it was just no Amari Cooper or just no Michael Gallup. But it's also no Amari Cooper, no Michael Gallup, no fucking Cedric Wilson. Like, that's how depleted this receiving core is. Like Cedric Wilson was a serviceable like 4 or 3 receiver last year. You don't even have him. And that's the toughest thing for me. And it's only Dalton Schultz. There's no more Blake Jarwin. You have 2 genuinely viable perimeter guys to get the ball to outside of Pollard and Zeke. And whenever the teams are this good, it's very hard to beat a team like that.
Yeah.
So until Gallup is back, you have to temper expectations for the Cowboys.
Denver, Seattle.
Denver. I hate having to pick this team to win games, but Seattle sucks. Seattle should be like the 2nd or 3rd worst team in the league. It's the Bears, Seattle, and insert a 3rd team. Maybe the Commanders.
I don't know what the Monday Night Football schedule looks like this year, but this has to be easily one of the worst games. In terms of, I think Denver is just going to blow Seattle out of the water, and it won't be close.
We don't effectively get a good game until week 4. Because week 2, we're looking at Vikings, Eagles, whoop-de-fucking-do. Week 3, Cowboys, Giants. Would much rather have a different game. Week 4, Rams, Niners.
It's Titans and Bills. There's 2 of them. There's 2 of them.
Oh,
there's 2 Monday night games week 2. So Titans and Bills should be good. Vikings and Eagles should be good. But then the Cowboys play the Giants. The Rams play the Niners. We probably know how that's going to go. Raiders play the Chiefs. Broncos play the Chargers. The Bears play the Patriots. Okay.
That's ass. Bengals, Browns, ass.
Yeah. Ravens, Saints. I like
entertaining.
That. Commanders, Eagles.
Ass. Niners, Cardinals. 3-pack of ass. Steelers, Colts. ass.
I like that.
It's
Oh,
Saints
I like
Bucks.
it.
That's a banger. Pats Cardinals ass. It's Steelers Panthers ass. Like, dude, Rams Packers. We have another good matchup. Like, that's the problem I'm having with Monday night. Chargers Colts. Bolt up, baby. Borderline ass. Like, the Colts could be very bad at this point in the season, for all we know. Who knows?
Yeah.
But out of these Monday night matchups, you have like 4 or 5 that are worth actually sitting down to watch, unless you're a fan of the team. Texans Colts. There's what the hell? There's no Monday night matchup that week. There's no Monday night matchup this week. It's the final week of the season. I was like, what the fuck? Everyone's on January 8th. Bills, Bengals, Rams, Niners, anything with the Chargers, Rams, Packers. Yeah, it's Monday night's pretty weak this year. Monday night is effectively the weakest day of the football world. I think Jeff Bezos must have slotted out a bunch of money because Thursday night looks really good this year.
Wouldn't doubt it.
So Thursday night, week 1, you've got Bills, Rams, Chargers, Chiefs, second week.
Fuck.
Want to hear the third week? It's Steelers, Browns. It should be a fun game to watch. Last time we got Steelers, Browns, Myles Garrett was smashing some pumpkins, if you know what I mean. Dolphins, Bengals, solid matchup. Colts, Broncos, I don't hate it. Commanders, Bears, ass.
Oh
Saints,
my
Cardinals.
God. Well, who the fuck? Who?
Week 8, you get Ravens.
I get it that every team that isn't the Lions gets a primetime game this year, but Commanders, Bears to kick off the week.
Ravens, Bucks will be cool. Eagles, Texans is going to stink, but at least the Eagles are fun to watch. Falcons, Panthers should be a bar fight. I'm here for it. Terrible teams, but Titans, Packers, week 11. Bills, Lions. Fucking congratulations, Detroit. Your funeral's on national TV.
Holy I think that's their Thanksgiving game, isn't it? In the morning?
Yeah. November 24th, yeah.
Oh, those poor kids. Those
Bills, Pats. That's a fun one. Kids. Raiders, Rams. Niners, Seahawks. Ooh, poor Seattle. Jaguars, Jets. Cowboys, Titans. That's a fun one. Cardinals, Niners. Fun one. And yeah, so I think Thursday has a better slate than Monday, to be honest. At least it starts out.
I can't get over Commanders Bears. It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's very fair, but
the worst part is somebody has to win.
Yeah,
one of those two teams has to win the football game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. I think we've covered everything we can. We've covered every division. We've covered all the seeds. We've covered Super Bowl winners. We've covered Super Bowl matchups. We've covered Week 1 predictions. We made it just under 2 hours. Maybe next week. We're almost at 2 hours.
That works.
So
today was a marathon.
Yeah, today was a good one, but I hope everyone enjoys their Labor Day. If you've listened to all our divisions, just this division, thanks for hanging out with us. Today was kind of an exception because we have some stuff going on tonight to get done. But we will be back next week at our normal time, practically about halftime for Monday Night Football as the Denver Broncos are slapping the Seattle Seahawks. We'll be reviewing Week 1. We'll do a Week 2 predictions. That'll be kind of the, MO that we go throughout the weeks. Unless something big comes up, then we may change or might do a surprise episode or something like that. Sports are wild. We've kind of put baseball to the wayside as the Yankees are collapsing and Albert Pujols gets closer to 700 home runs. There's some stuff going on in baseball, but until we get close to playoffs and World Series, then we'll kind of get in there. The playoff pictures are kind of evening themselves out over there as well. I don't foresee any of the teams sneaking in at this point. So that's kind of a set thing. We might do playoff predictions like in the middle of the week or at least post them so we can be held accountable when we're right. I'm this close to predicting Dylan Cease as Cy Young at the start of the year being correct. Shout out to Justin Verlander and Shane McClanahan for going on the IL. I hope you guys are better soon. I love Shane McClanahan. I'm so sad that dude went down, but it's opened the door for Dylan Cease.
Give me Justin. I think Justin's still the pick.
Old man Verlander. Okay, but I think that's going to be it for us. Do you have anything left after my little spiel?
Just thank you to everybody for tuning in. NFL football is back as of Thursday, so everybody gear up, finish up your fantasy drafts, have fun, stay safe, wash your hands, and we will be back at you guys next Monday. As always, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for tuning in to the Makeshift Managers podcast. And yeah, if you have nothing left, I think it's time to give them the word. From us to you and everybody you love, peace.